Let's talk about religion. Not to mock it, not to convert anyone, but to understand what it is, how it came to be, and why so many people cling to it, often with a devotion that defies logic. Bear with me. This is the start of a series about power, belief, and control. We're going to look at the history of the church, not just what it teaches, but what it took, how it absorbed pagan rituals, aligned itself with kings and emperors, and helped build some of the most powerful institutions in human history. And we'll talk about why, despite everything, people still hold on. Because at the heart of every religion is a promise that if you live the right way, follow the right rules, worship the right God, you'll be safe. Maybe not in this life, but in the next. It's a deeply human desire. We're afraid of death. We're afraid of chaos. So we reach for order and meaning, something bigger than ourselves. But what happens when that search is manipulated by people who crave obedience more than truth? This series isn't about bashing your beliefs. It's about pulling back the curtain on how belief systems are built and how they're used. Let's start where a lot of the story begins, with the Christian calendar. People love to say America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. But here's a question. Why does the Christian holiday calendar look suspiciously like a remix of ancient pagan festivals? Let's start with Christmas. The Bible never mentions the date of Jesus' birth. In fact, early Christians didn't even celebrate birthdays. It was seen as a pagan tradition. But in the 4th century, under the Roman Emperor Constantine, everything changed. Constantine was a pretty savvy politician. He needed to unite a fractured empire under one religion, so he legalized Christianity, but he didn't erase Roman culture to do it. He absorbed it. That's how the birth of Christ got pinned to December 25th, the same time the Romans were celebrating Saturnalia, a week-long festival for the god Saturn. It involved gift-giving, feasting, lighting candles, and decorating homes with greenery. Sounds pretty familiar. They didn't cancel Saturnalia, they rebranded it. And then there's Easter. The name itself doesn't come from the Bible. It comes after Estra, an Anglo-Saxon goddess of spring and fertility. Her symbols, eggs and rabbits, obvious signs of new life. That's why Easter has chocolate bunnies and pastel egg hunts, even though none of that has anything to do with the resurrection of Christ. The early church wasn't just about conversion. It was about control. And the easiest way to control a population was to adopt their rituals and rename them. Sacred wells became baptismal fonts. May Day and the Celtic festival of Beltane were repackaged as feast days for saints. This wasn't divine revelation. It was kind of a branding strategy by the church. Even the cross itself, the universal symbol of Christianity, has deeper roots. It resembles the Ankh in Egypt, the solar wheel in pre-Christian Europe, and other fertility and life symbols long before crucifixion became its central meaning. None of this is unique to Christianity. Religions evolve, borrow, and adapt. But what is unique is how Christianity, especially under the institutional power of the Catholic Church, weaponized belief. It became more than a faith. It became an actual empire. And every empire needs rituals, traditions, and holidays to unify people and reinforce authority. That's how we got to where we are now, where people defend Christian tradition without realizing they're celebrating festivals older than Christianity itself, wrapping it up in a cross, backed by centuries of myth-making. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Americans who defend these Christian values love to say this country was built on faith. But our founding fathers, many of them weren't Christian in the way modern evangelicals would like to believe. They were deists. Men like Thomas Jefferson, he literally cut up the Bible and removed every miracle. Men like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Paine, they questioned the authority of churches. Men like James Madison, who warned against theocracy and religious coercion. They believed in a creator, but not a church, not a priesthood, not a divine reward system. They built a government rooted in reason, not revelation. A republic, not a Christian kingdom. So when people tell you America was founded on Christian holidays and biblical values, ask them why our biggest celebrations are rooted in pagan solstices and fertility rituals, and why our Constitution, unlike the Bible, starts with "we the people."